Hello and welcome to Jim's EV Adventures. Today, the Ioniq 5 is 6 months old and the Bolt is 2 years old. This turned over 8,500 miles and the Bolt has just recently turned over 55,000 miles. Both are still going strong. Let's take a look at each one of them individually and I'll go over everything that has happened with both cars. For the Ioniq 5, nothing. We've just gotten in it and driven it, taken it to have the tires rotated and balanced, had the recall performed on it. That's it. Both of those activities took less than 2 hours. Less time than it takes to have an oil change done in your car. The Ioniq 5, on the other hand, I've got a detailed video series on where the OnStar module failed, and we went through all kinds of consternation with General Motors before we finally got it resolved. But that's now resolved. So here, let's take a look at both vehicles. We'll start with the Ioniq. Okay guys, let's take a quick walk around the exterior of the Ioniq 5. As you can see, the car is in pretty much pristine condition. I will go over some problems that there are on the front of the car where a limb hit it falling off of a truck that did not have its trash covered properly, which is a problem here in the state of Florida. But let's look at the exterior. For the most part, this car is absolutely perfect. It is digital teal in color, and in the sun and in the shade and in the evening skies, this color changes dramatically. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's teal, sometimes it is ashen gray with a hint of blue, but this color is beautiful, and I think that's why the Ioniq guy has now had 2 of them. I must agree with him on his color choice. It is gorgeous. There is one blemish on the front of the vehicle, and I'm going to get in here real close. As you can see right here in the paint, and a little chip here, and a little bit of a nick here in the plastic, and a little bit of a scratch here. This whole thing got hit by a limb going down the road that flew off of a truck because the truck did not have its trash secured properly, which is a big problem here in Florida. There's not a lot of enforcement of codes, and I'll show you more of that on the Bolt when we get to that. But this is just a real quick walk around to show you the 2024 Ioniq 5 rear-wheel drive in digital teal. Perfect day for you to see the colors. So as you can see, the seats are in excellent shape. I'm not going to show you the passenger seat because it's full of stuff right now. The floorboard, I just cleaned it out a little bit. I need to go home and put some Armor All on these floor mats to clean them up a little bit more. Doors in excellent shape. I love the colors of the doors again. It's kind of a white over the dark gray, so you don't have this just monotone black like I do in my Bolt. Always keep a rag in the door of the car because there's always something that needs to be cleaned inside the car. Love this little magnetic mount here. I got my phone mounted on it right now. And we'll move into the back. So back here in the back, aside from the junk that we have piled on the seat, we have a nice seat cover because the granddaughter can be rather rambunctious when she has a snack in the back seat, and it goes everywhere. And definitely don't want that everywhere on the back seat, so we put a nice cover on it. So let's go ahead and open this back up again. In the back here we have a cover, and as you notice there are 2 locations for you to put the cover. We've put it to the furthest back so somebody sitting in this seat can relax it backwards a little further. There's a net down here to cover up everything that is in the back here with cover here. Need to put these up front so she'll be able to use those when it starts getting a little bit hotter. These are probably the best purchase I ever made. Those are very nice windshield covers. Now let's take another look at the dashboard of the Ioniq 5. As I mentioned earlier, I really appreciate the fact that this thing is not a mono-themed color. It has varying shades of gray, black, and white. As you can see, the dash is in pristine condition. I absolutely love the dual screens. I love the Apple CarPlay. If you are an Android Auto user, you will probably like it as well. All the buttons and switches on the steering wheel are in pristine condition. The horn looks good. Everything on the dash is in the correct place and operating as it should for this vehicle type. There are still a few things that we can do to manage this a little bit better, but as you can see, the layout of the Ioniq 5 screen is incredibly easy to use and even easier to understand. All right, let's talk about the tire depth, or tires here. These are the Michelin Primacy All Seasons. They are 235/55 R19s. These are the ones that come on the car. You can see my finger going up in there. As you can see, it is very good tread depth here still. These start off at 12/32 of an inch, and there's at least 9/32 of an inch left on the tires. No strange wear patterns on any of them, front or rear. Just had them rotated and balanced about actually 2 weeks ago, and so the tires are in good shape, all four corners. Okay guys, I'm backing out of where I just shot all that video, and we'll talk more as we're going down the road. I am going to turn everything off as best I can, so where I'm not even, I do need some air conditioning because it's quite warm here today, in the car anyway. And I'm just going to be very quiet as I'm riding through a bumpy neighborhood. Aside from the stuff in the tray between the seats that's rolling around because it's not secured properly, there are no squeaks, rattles, rolls, grinds, grumps, grunts, or anything in this car after 8,500 and almost 10 miles. So as you can see, and I'm sure you can hear the engine whine and the noise that it makes at 25 miles an hour or less. All right, that's it, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for the Ioniq. As you can see, the car is pretty much in pristine condition. A little bit of road rash on the front end from a truck that had an unsecured load. And the tires are great. The ride is great. The interior is great. The color is absolutely beautiful. No problems whatsoever from the Ioniq 5 through 8,500 miles. Okay, now let's talk about the Bolt a little bit. As you know, the OnStar module failed at just roughly past 45,000 miles back in November of 2024. And it took until December of 2024 before I could get the part and have it installed. And that is one of the areas where General Motors has ultimately failed, in my opinion. The other thing that has been done to this car, I now have a second set of tires on it. I replaced those tires at roughly 42,000 miles. It now has 55,000 miles. So I expect to get about 40 to 45,000 miles out of these tires at about $350 less per set. This morning as I took it into the place where I had the tires installed, the guy said, "Hey, that's not bad for a tire that's not designed for an electric vehicle." Let me destroy that myth right now. There is no such thing as an electric vehicle tire. The tire composition of tires for all vehicles are the same. The low rolling resistant tire has been around for many years to improve gas mileage. That's how so many of these fleet vehicles over the past few years were getting 35 to 40 miles per gallon because they were using low rolling resistance tires. But as soon as you put a normal tire back on that vehicle, the gas mileage would drop by 10 to 15%. So again, no such thing as a pure EV tire, something that's EV tuned. That's just a marketing gimmick. It has no basis in reality because the laws of physics apply to all tires equally. So if you have a high performance tire on an internal combustion engine vehicle, it will be a high performance tire on an electric vehicle. The weight differences I've already shown you, between 10 and 15% more, and just to prove to you that weight is not an issue, the Bolt EUV comes with an SL rated tire. I put an XL rated tire on it, which is rated for more weight. So again, back to the myth, there's no such thing as an EV tire. We'll continue on. I'm going to take you around the vehicle, front to back, and I'm going to go through the interior, and I'm going to show you all the warts and all the things that have happened to this car over the past 55,000 miles. Here we go. So let's start out with the front end, and I'm going to have to pull this in a little bit closer to show you some of the hiccups and scratches. Right here, as you pull in on this, you can see what I call road scabs, if you will, where rocks and debris and other things have hit the front of the car and just basically scabbed it up. What I do when it hits the metal, I don't worry about the plastic too much, but when it hits the metal, if there's any metal, and right here's a good example, and hopefully you can see that where my finger's pointing. What I do is I take a toothpick and I dab just a little bit of touch-up paint in that to keep rust from forming. Those types of things are going to happen to any car unless you have it wrapped. I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off of it, no matter what it looks like anyway. I don't really care what anybody else thinks. This is my daily driver. I'm not in any way making it a show car, and I'll just leave it at that, and you can take that as you will, any way you want to take it. Just as I did with the Ioniq, I'm going to show you that we still have plenty of tread wear left on this car. There's no uneven wear on this. The front end is aligned perfectly. But again, I'm going to show you on the other side. The driver's side, thankfully, the windshield is in good condition. Got some more chips and scratches on the rearview mirror here. Again, another reason that here in the United States we need to get rid of rear view mirrors. They're nothing but something to catch the wind and get chipped up. So come on, United States, let's move into the 21st century at some point in time. How about that? Going around the back end of the vehicle, again, there are no issues with this car at all on the rear end. The Bolt EUV is a great car. General Motors, we have some issues. I'm not going to talk about those in any more detail until I've had a chance to talk with someone at General Motors about resolving the issues that they are creating for themselves. Down the side of the car, again, no problems whatsoever. We'll go into the inside here in just a minute, but I do want to show you on the windshield over here. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it too well, but right here where my finger is, that is a good gouge. There's several gouges here. So that's going to wrap up the exterior walk around. As you can see, this is my daily driver. It does get a lot of road rash, and I'm not going to be ashamed of that. That is part of driving a car. I am showing you through these videos that an electric vehicle will stand up to wear and tear better than any internal combustion engine vehicle in the same class. So back on the driver's side of the car, I don't know if you can see it there, but it is lit up. This is the OBD 2-port reader. Got it plugged in. I'm just going to go into the dashboard for this one to give you a little bit of an update on it. Currently, I'm sitting at 88%, 75.2 degree battery temperature. and been sitting here running for about 10 minutes. There is nothing in the database for the Bolt that gives you near as much information on the battery. But the one thing I can do is I can go into all of the sensors and I can look at all 96 pouches individually to see what their voltages are, to see how well balanced the packs are. And I'm going to put that report in this particular video, and I'll pull up each screen as I capture them on my iPhone. There are 16 modules in the Bolt EV/EUV battery pack. There are 96 cells in series within these 16 modules. So effectively you get a 96S 3P configuration. That is 96 cells in series overall with 3 cells in parallel in each series group. This setup delivers the high voltage and energy density required for the vehicle, typically around 350 volts nominal. In these images, we see the actual snapshot of the 96 cells and their voltages. From the information, we can see the balance between these 96 cells is excellent. I've highlighted in red the 4 packs that fall below 4.05 volts. This is insignificant because the difference in cell voltages is less than 3%. When the balances fall outside this 3% difference, there may be overcharging or over-discharging between the cells in the upper and lower states of charge. If this becomes problematic, the battery management system cannot handle the differences and your battery can become critically damaged. This is why it is important to have your EV battery health checked by the manufacturer during all scheduled maintenance activities. Okay guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode of Jim's EV Adventures. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed getting to take a look at Teal Horizon here and my favorite little car over there, White Lightning. I hope you have gained some insight on how these cars are going to hold up over 55,000 and 8,500 miles. I'm going to continue to do episodes on this about every 3 months and more episodes on the Bolt because that Bolt is going to be around for a while. Let me let you know that the 2026 Bolt is still in the works. I'm waiting to hear back from General Motors as to whether I will get an invite to come look at that car when it releases later this year. Crossing my fingers, if you're listening, General Motors, this is an opportunity to make up for some of the consternation that you've caused me with this car and the OnStar module. But hey, I'm not going to hold my breath. I will tell you that the Hyundai and General Motors companies are together working on the Ioniq charging network, and I've done a video on that as well. I've done several videos on charging in general, looking at chargers in your local area. Let me say this, don't worry about the NEVI funding because chargers are going to be installed because most manufacturers understand if they want to sell electric vehicles, they have to have a place for you to charge when you're out on the road. And that's coming fast and furious in 2025. And you should see a ramp up to where there are over 75,000 DC fast charge ports nationwide and probably more by the end of the year. Just continue to watch. 1 out of every 10 cars sold today is an electric vehicle. The numbers are only going to increase. People are not buying the FUD anymore from the fossil fuel industries and the, quite frankly, incorrect and hateful YouTube influencers and other social media influencers who lie to you continually about electric vehicles. I'm here just to give you a bird's eye view and an owner and operator view of how things are real in owning an EV. And as you'll notice in this garage, there is not a gas-powered vehicle. We don't own gas-powered vehicles anymore. We encourage our family to buy electric vehicles. We've encouraged everyone we know to buy electric vehicles because they're so much easier to operate, so much less expensive to operate, and 1,000 times more fun to operate. And anybody that's been in one for more than 15 minutes will agree. Very few people go back to gas, and those that do are still stuck in the 1890s. They will never learn, they have closed minds, and they do exactly what they want to do regardless of what they know to be the truth. Thank you for stopping by. I'll see you all again real soon, or somewhere along that route from point A to point B. Take it easy.